Hey, everybody, welcome to Poduty in the News for Saturday, October 11th, 2025. We got Phil Better joining us on the main stage. We've got 6 great stories. We're going to Hawaii. MSNBC is betting on live events. We've got Vox Media and Talking Points memo celebrating 25 years. Let's hear Phil's theme song.
The stage is high, the lights are on. From Honolulu nights to St. Paul songs, queer voices rise, TP amidst the town. MSNBC's fans are gathering round.
Fox takes the mic, where tech meets art. Jeffrey Billa is here to tear the news apart. Covering meetups, media, that is our goal. We're joined by Phil Better, the podcast mogul. What time is it? What time is it?
What time is it? Oh, it's time for
Poduty in the news. Poduty in the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
I got to admit, that drop was hard.
That was banging. I want that as my theme song because that's ballin'.
Every time Phil walks into the room, that song will play. Phil Better, welcome to Poduty in the News.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my God, this is so great. You do amazing work, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to do something. I'm definitely doing something. And part of that is because of the connections I've made doing podcasting. We had Maria Daniels. We had Norm from, he's going to kill me, Theta Wave Blue Media. I think I got it right. Now we got Phil Better, international podcast speaker, the podcast mogul, joining us north of the border. This is our first international guest.
There you go. Love it. I'm breaking barriers and taking you all with me.
Phil, tell us about the podcast mogul.
Hi, everybody. I'm Phil Better, the podcast mogul. I'm so happy to be here on Poduty in the News. I just switched into professional mode, if you couldn't tell. And if you're listening, this is how I normally sound on my podcast. I am the podcast mogul. What I do is I help you, podcasters like yourself, take your podcast from no monetization to monetized, from no growth to growth, because this is what I love to do. All I do every day is speak with podcasters, figure out how I can help you, and actually help brands grow their podcasts as well, and take the secrets that they teach or they use so that you as an independent podcaster can grow your podcast the same way. I've been in podcasting for over a decade. I love it. It's changed my world, and it's allowed me to be in this little castle, as you can see from the background behind me if you're watching over on Poduty YouTube channel, which you should be following right now.
It does look like you're on like the English countryside with that like a chimney or a stone wall behind you.
It's a former chimney.
Yeah.
It's an actual former chimney.
Is that real? That's not a green screen?
No, it's a full reel.
Wow.
Yeah. We cultured up here in Canada.
We got all the things. Phil, thank you so much. I know you were just in the States a few weeks ago. We were almost going to get you on the stage when you were in town or in the States. What were you attending? You were down in what, North Carolina?
I was in Charlotte, North Carolina for the Empowered Podcasting Conference 2, the second one. It was an amazing event where I was able to speak on stage about authentic storytelling. I was on a panel with Jason Cerrone, Yvonne, and I'm forgetting the other lady's name, which I am very sorry for her. I think it's Carol. We were talking about authentic storytelling. This is a 2-3 day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It is put on by the most genuine people who want to see you succeed. Everyone there cares about podcasting, but cares more about helping others than getting help themselves. I had so many great conversations. There were a few people who actually are in the Maria Daniels, Jeff Rivera community of people that came over to see me. One of them was Mark from Stayed Practical Prepping Podcast. It was amazing. I had such a great time. I'm looking forward to going next year. And you as well, listeners, should be going to these podcast conferences if you can. because you will meet the people that you need to have in your life when it comes to podcasting.
Yeah, this is a podcast news show. Phil Better reporting live from North Carolina, Empowered Podcasting. I saw a lot of great photos. It looked like a phenomenal event and something that's going to be on my radar next year.
Yeah, it's I am so looking forward to going back. I'm disappointed that I missed your meetup that weekend. If I wasn't chosen to be a panelist, I would have been at your event, but I got the news that I was chosen as a panelist, so I had to make that difficult decision of which would I go support. And
hey, we always wish for your success. So that's an amazing opportunity. You got to jump on it. You got to take it. We'll know that we'll catch up at another point, and we're glad that you were able to experience that and have a great time and let us know how it was.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so glad to be a part of your community because you gave me my start as an international speaker. So I'm going to be supporting you 110%.
It's almost like a championship belt and like the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion of Podcasting, Phil Better.
Oh, funny enough, I do have a belt that a wrestling belt that I do sponsor.
I did see that. There is a Podcast Mogul belt, right?
Yes, it is the AIWF Canadian Heavyweight Championship belt is sponsored by Phil Better, the podcast Mogul. It's currently held by a gentleman named Adam Kraft, I believe, from the Atlantic provinces, but he is a fighting champion and he defends that belt every chance he gets. So I'm very happy to have a fighting champion as my first champion for that belt.
That's awesome. And we started the show as a way to get together Saturday mornings. A lot of times we're busy during the week. We're recording in the evenings after work a lot of times. And Saturday was kind of a time where we could slow down. We could digest all the news that comes our way. Each week I'm filtering 1,000+ stories to find you the 6 best that we can bring to you for Poduty in the news. And, we want to sit down with friends and fans and people who love podcasting. We're drinking coffee. I'm drinking the Guatemala Dark from Harvest Moon, which is 2 blocks down the street. So if you ever come to the theater in the morning for a Saturday morning, I'd hope you join me sometime. Nobody has yet. So who will be the first one to join me as a random guest? We'll walk down to Harvest Moon. We have a little march, and then we go down. They have these things called hand pies, which are like empanada hand pies. These are amazing breakfast sandwiches. They're like puff pastry stuffed with eggs and bacon and sausage, or they have a vegetarian one that's spinach and cheese. Like they are really, really good.
We had it both days I was there, correct?
Most likely. That's
that I have to say has I'm not a huge coffee drinker. To be fair, I've probably had 10 cups of coffee in my whole life. But their hot chocolate is divine. Those sandwiches or those pastries that Jeff is talking about, just so good, warm, delicious. It feels like it's freshly made, like when they just hand it to you. And then there's the pizza. You guys have such a great pizza joint. Oh God, I am so looking forward to going back just for the pizza and the food. Pretty much, not to see Jeff is a plus, but the food is the main reason I'm going back down.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, big surprise on the culinary front, but Phil's had 10 cups of coffee in his life. I've had 10 cups of coffee today. Phil, are you ready to get into these stories?
Let's get into the news.
Here's the Poduty in the news. We're going to Hawaii. We're going to Keep It Aloha. Keep It Aloha podcast goes live at the Blue Note Waikiki with 7 Suns. And the Aloha spirit met live podcasting magic as the Keep It Aloha podcast hit the stage with the iconic Blue Note Waikiki. Host Kamaka Diaz sat down with the island's newest reggae sensation, 7 Suns, for a heartfelt talk story session that captured the essence of Hawaii's creative community. After the conversation, the band treated fans to a soulful 30-minute acoustic set, blending smooth harmonies and island rhythms. Even better, every dollar raised went to 7 Suns Scholarship Fund, helping the next wave of local musicians chase their dreams. It's a perfect example of how live podcasts can bring community, culture, and creativity together under one roof. And this is one of those stories I love. Everybody knows I'm so bullish on what live podcasting can be, what it can become. And here's a crossover where this podcast one of their favorite bands on the island. They're having an event that's not only a way to bring their fans together, but a fundraiser. So now you're bringing people together, you're raising money for a cause, and you're having this shared experience. Like, how powerful is that?
I love all the stories today because they're just amazing for what podcasters can do with their community, and that's what's so important. I love this more specifically because I do have a lot of independent artist friends that have bands that are unfortunately not getting the success that they deserve, and pairing it with a podcast that is about the community, like Keep It Aloha podcast, which talks about the islands. They are creating this event. They've created this community that will come and support, and you see it constantly with other podcasts, large, like big name podcasts going around doing these not studio theater tours or even stadium tours, and they're selling out. But this is proof that even a small podcast, you team with another group that needs that has a community that's somewhat similar to yours, coming together, and it's not for self-profit, it is for frigging charity, which is bigger and better. That's just makes this even better. This is the power that you as a podcaster can do. So if you can do this, like Jeff said, like if you are in the Pittsburgh area, head up to Tarentum, go to the Poduty Theater, check it out, see what it's like first, and talk to Jeff about hosting your podcast there, because you can bring in charity, you can bring in live events. Like they're doing a concert after the podcast. So you're getting a 2-for-1. You're getting a live podcast. So if you love the podcast, you're getting to see it live, and they're chatting, and you get to meet them afterwards, which who doesn't want to see a live recording, right? People go to Jimmy Fallon. Why not go to your podcast? But also you get a musical concert after from a great reggae band. And you're supporting independent artists, and we need to support more independent people, independent podcasters, independent musicians and writers. So I'm 100% for this. I wish I was in Hawaii right now so that I could go to this and support this.
Yeah, what's incredible is you have the ability to connect like this, where this is on the island, right? This is on Hawaii. On the mainland here, which I'm sure that's what they would now all of a sudden I'm Hawaiian, but if we're on the mainland, you have bars, restaurants, libraries have media centers. If you're not in Pittsburgh and you don't have a Poduty in your town, there are unlimited ways to put on a live show to bring your community together. So, start thinking outside the box. You don't just have to record a podcast isolated in your basement. You can go to the places where your fans are, the restaurants, the coffee shops, the bars, and bring them together and have a shared experience.
This is bringing the loneliness of podcasting into the limelight, allowing us to connect with our audience. Like if you say, like I've been in the theater has about, you said 30 seats, correct, Jeff? Roughly?
40 is the legal amount of capacity.
Okay, yeah. So I was 10 short, but you have 40 people. Think about this. If you already have 40 listeners, let's say you're very niched, and you talk about your town, right? You have 40 people who listen from your town. That fills up the theater that Jeff is in. And let me tell you, 40 people in one room, that's a lot of people. I spoke in front of only 20 people. I think it was between 20 and 30 people when I did my panel. And that is intimidating because it was like the first time I was in such a large group. I'm used to talking to a camera and I'm safe in sound. But you get to see the actual impact your podcast can have with your community firsthand, because they're there to support you. And that's just going to boost your need to continue podcasting. Find a local location, library, like Jeff said, library, school auditorium. See if some schools have theaters. See if you can rent it out, if that's a possibility, and just find a place, because I'm telling you, you will get revitalized doing a live podcast. Even if you do it once a year, you will see how you just the energy for it just comes back to you. I came home from the conference and my family was like, Phil, you didn't stop smiling for a week. Can you stop? It's creepy. It was like, oh. But yeah, if you're not watching, I just did a very creepy smile that I had like a serial killer. I am like, Jeff is very bullish on live in-person theater shows, I'm probably second behind him at how bullish I am, because it's coming. Like, I have something I want to say at the end of the show regarding this because of AI, but we're going to keep moving the news because we got some other great stories. But
Poduty and the moves.
Poduty and the moves.
When we have a guest now, we do call this Poduty and the crew. So if you go to the news.poduty.com, there's a people section, or actually it's a crew section. Anybody who's ever been on the show, there's an archive of what shows they've been on and a little bio about them. So Phil is going to get inducted into the crew after this show.
Ooh, I'm getting
one of the things I want to add to this is I do a Pittsburgh podcast meetup. It's a monthly event. And from that, I'm obviously looking for butts to fill the seats here, and I'm looking for people for the stage. I'm looking for talent. I'm typically converting 10 to 20% of the people who make it to the theater into live shows the following month. So if you're a business owner, you're an accountant, you offer marketing services, you're a consultant, keep that in mind. There's opportunity here. This is, your live event could be part of your funnel, where if you get a certain amount of people to a theater, a certain amount of them are going to convert into customers or listeners. So keep that in the back of your head. This is another way to grow your business.
Oh, it's the smartest way of growing your business, because it's you get to have that connection with the individuals. I'm all for it. Let's more live events.
Well, speaking of more live events, story number 2 today: Unboxing Queer History is live again, reconnecting generations in Chicago. History came alive in Chicago as the Gerber Hart Library and Archives hosted Unboxing Queer History Live Again, a sold-out celebration of storytelling, connection, and preservation. The evening recreated a full podcast episode live on stage, spotlighting the LGBTQ+ intergenerational dialogue project, where elders and youth shared powerful personal stories. The audience laughed, cried, and learned as the performers brought archival voices to life with live recordings, video, and art. More than a podcast, this event became a living time capsule, a reminder that telling our stories out loud is itself an act of resistance, and that community history can't be canceled when it's shared, recorded, and celebrated together. This one was super powerful. Like the idea of a time capsule to me, as like, I'm always very careful what I say on stage, because I know, like a diamond, anything I record is going to last forever. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, anything you do record does last forever. So if there's a time period in history where there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of things happening in society, and you're documenting that so that generations in the future can learn about it, or generations in the past telling us how they struggled and how they survived to get to today. This was a very powerful way to document history, and something I probably never considered as much. You just blowing my mind with that, because I never looked at it as documenting history. But it's true. They're talking about history. They're going into the archives, bringing out the stories from the past so that generations in the future can hear about it, because we do lose those stories if we don't record them, or if they're written down. They can be burnt. They can be banned in some instances, as we've seen throughout history. But this also just shows how powerful community is, right? Because without promoting or politicizing anything, communities like the LGBTQ plus community, and I apologize if I destroyed the acronym. It's not my regular vernacular, but they are very supportive, but they're also somewhat scattered. But you have this community coming together, a small community. It's intergenerational, right? So you have boomers and elder millennials and Gen Xers talking to Gen Alpha, Gen Z about the past, about some of the magnificent moments throughout their history that allowed them to become more prominent, become less stigmatized. So for me, seeing this is, again, just reinforcing the idea that having your community at a live event is so important, because it's not just for you sitting there talking to your audience, telling them their stories like they did over at Unboxing Queer History. It's the opportunity for other people to meet and network and get to know each other, so that they know they're not alone.
especially when you're using a podcast similar to this, where it is sometimes stigmatized. There are pushed to the outside of society because they don't conform. This allows them to connect with others so that they don't feel alone. This is what also live podcasting can do for your audience. It allows them to feel like, oh, I'm not the only one listening. There's this person, there's that person. I can connect with this person. And you'll see your podcast grow because you're creating those connections within your community, within your listenership that can come to support for major things like doing a live at a historic library that tells the stories of the people of your past, that you're connected to. So I think this is wonderful. I love it. I would love to see more events like this at specialty libraries or just libraries in general, hosting these live events of history podcasts or reading podcasts, so that you can grow a community. I'm down hard for this.
Phil and I are bullish on the power of independent media and the ability for you to create something, own it from start to finish, and then own the final product, the distribution rights, how it's shared online. You have 100% ownership. And the line in here that it's a reminder that telling our stories out loud is itself an act of resistance is something you couldn't do. I mean, you could have an event 20 years ago, but now you can document that and distribute it to the world and be in complete control of that messaging, not answering to anybody, not censoring it to something that somebody wants you to say or censoring it for the airwaves. You can be your authentic self on a piece of media that you can own and distribute to the world.
Yeah, it's the most powerful form of resistance is independent media. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more rise of it in the coming days, in the coming weeks, in the coming months and years, given the current political stance in the world today. I can see a lot more independent media. It's just like small businesses make the backbone of the economy. Small independent news networks create the news that everybody needs to hear. And the voices that we need to hear are allowed to speak, and we can get representation. And it's only through independent media.
And speaking of voices from the past, we got Wits Returns, a live revival 10 years in the making. 10 years after its cancellation, Wits is back on the stage at the legendary Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul, proving that some shows never really die, they just take a creative nap. Host John Moe and music director John Munson reunited for a one-night-only variety show filled with laughter, sketches, live music, and joined by comedian Paul F. Tompkins and a surprise musical guest. What began as a Minnesota public radio experiment in 2010 has grown into a community legacy, one where comedy, music, and conversation mix perfectly in front of a live audience. As Moe put it, we got canceled, but we sort of decided not to be. It's a true testament to the staying power of live performance and the podcasting spirit that refuses to fade away.
This just reinforces our previous statement, how powerful a community is, right? This was a community-run public radio show, okay? That, yes, obviously, it was able to have some money behind it. It was on radio, so it got that distribution. People heard about it, and it got sizable. But it's still a community base, and they just came together for one day. Even though they were canceled, they still had that power to bring in the audience of listeners to come listen to a live event, even if it was a one-off. This may force them to do it more often. Hey, maybe they'll do more podcasting, but this shows how powerful your podcast can be, even if it's been canceled, quote unquote, canceled. I love this. I want more of these. I want more people, more public radio to go on to the podcasting. And yeah, this is awesome. I love it.
This is a string of stories we've had recently where something in the traditional media space has transitioned to their own show or their own podcast or their own event. It's happening more and more as these legacy brands maybe can't afford due to dwindling listenership, dwindling advertising dollars. The people who made these shows 20, 30 years ago on radio or television, they're now taking control of their brand and their ownership. and putting these events on themselves.
Yeah, I love it. I want more of this. I'm not a big fan of consolidating everything under one big roof. When it comes to media, I want as many independent people out there telling the news that sometimes we don't want to hear, but we need to hear. Yeah, I want more of this. I want to see more, local news people talking about stories, doing the independent journalism, be it in music, be it in the actual news, political, be it corporate, whatever. I want to see more independent news people going out there. And I believe we're going to be trusting it more and more now, even though it's simpler to create a news organization. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more news oriented in the local community, which could be very interesting because then you can do these amazing in-person events.
Well, news is the perfect segue for story number 4. MSNBC bets big on live events and podcasts ahead of major rebrand. This one comes to us from Business Insider. MSNBC is going all in on live events as it prepares for its big rebrand to MS Now. The network plans to triple its in-person productions next year, everything from live podcasts and panels to interactive fan experience like MSNBC Live. This is Who We Are, happening October 11th, which is today when we're recording, in New York, with stars like Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, and Nicole Wallace taking the stage for live conversations and Q&As. MSNBC hopes to transform its viewers into an engaged, connected community. As audience shift from cable to streaming, MSNBC's new strategy is clear. Bring the news to the people, not just through the screen, but in real life, where trust, conversation, and connection can take center stage.
I love this. It's showing that the big boys realize how powerful one podcasting is, but also creating that community feel, or creating these events where people can actually interact and see that it's not there less of a barrier between I and the person I'm listening to or and getting to know. However, I also have something that I want to say. With the rise of AI generated video, live podcasting, live recording is going to be even more powerful because that's more trusting. I can go to this thing and I can see them talk in person. They're a 3D individual. They're live in person. I don't have to worry about it being an AI generated video because I was there and watching it. I truly believe that with the rise of the AI videos and that, more companies are going to go this route because it's more trusting. I can trust if I can go see it live.
Yeah, here's a traditional media company creating these live events. And I think the data is starting to show that people are tired of isolation. They've become addicted to their cell phones. They're waking up from this addiction. They're understanding, maybe because of AI, that sitting in bed at night scrolling through a conveyor belt of videos on their phone isn't healthy behavior. And I think that's another reason why these live events are becoming so much more front and center. People want to get out. People want to connect with people. We are a social being.
Yeah, humans seek community.
And we just you don't get that kind of fulfillment staring at a two-dimensional screen all night. You want to be able to shake hands, smile at somebody, share your ideas, even debate your ideas. It's okay to have different ideas, but have healthy conversation. Or why do you believe this one? I believe that. We don't have any of that anymore because we work all day and we go home and we get under the covers and either stream media and then get on our phone. So these events are going to continue to become more and more front and center. And maybe because of AI, we may have an IRL revolution.
I fully believe moving forward, there's going to be less and less trust on traditional media and more trust in companies that do live events. So with MSNBC doing this so early and proving that it's going to work, you're going to see a lot of other traditional switch over if they want to continue their business. And it's going to cause a cascade effect that I'm very interested in seeing what happens. I think it's going to be a lot of fun with what's coming up.
You know, when we were younger, there was only, I'll joke, there was 3 television stations. That's how old I am. And news casters were local celebrities.
Yeah.
People loved Joe DiNardo. People loved Peggy Finnegan. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, you know what I'm talking about. But these were local celebrities, and through streaming and through our cell phone addictions, we've really lost that connection to these people who are propping up the local economy. They're telling us what's going on and what's new and what's happening. And I think for local news stations, this model is perfect to bring back that love and support of these quote unquote local celebrities who are on TV every night for, half an hour at a time, but everybody knows their name locally.
Yeah, even if they don't do like a daily live stream, quote unquote, even if it's like, hey, every Friday we open up the studio, you can come in and you can watch the live recording of it. Just once a week, that's going to be amazing for your audience because they get to connect and understand what's going on. And you may end up having people who can help you 10 times your audience or provide advice. You never know who you're going to meet when they come in. But also you're creating that community feel like we need to have community again, and we're striving for it. We're so starved of community that we're looking anywhere for that community. And I think that the rise of more live podcasting from traditional and as well as independent sources will be fantastic for not only the economy but the mental well-being of the communities.
I got another one for you. We're going to finish out New York City at strong. Last three stories are all New York. So if you're looking for a community right now, New York City is the place to be. Vox Media brings its star podcast to the Tech Futures stage. This just happened the last 3 days, but Vox Media is stepping out of the studio and onto the stage at Tech Futures 2025, transforming New York City's South Street Seaport into a 3-day celebration of innovation, technology, and live conversation. From October 7th through the 9th, audiences experience live podcast tapings from icons like Sue Bird and Mega Rapinoe with A Touch More, The Verge's Niley Patel with Decoder, and finance influencer Vivian Tu with Network and Chill. It's all part of a growing trend where podcasts don't just inform, they perform. As tech futures blend culture, business, and technology in real time, Vox Media proves that live podcasting isn't just about talking tech, it's about shaping the future of how we connect, learn, and share stories together. This is everything that we love on a much higher scale. Vox Media, the podcast that they sponsor and produce, they're taking them around like on a little mini tour. And this tour ended up being at Tech Futures in New York City.
This is like what I'm saying. Small, independent, like Vox Media started, I believe, small. I don't think they were part of the mainstream conglomerate, but I think they may have been bought. I'm not sure. I don't know the whole history, but this is what you can do. You start a media brand and you start helping local podcasters growing. And then before you know it, you're on Tech Future or you're on Poduty in the news telling other podcasters how they should be, going and doing live events. I love this. I want to see more and more. Like the previous story and this story is like mainstream media coming into the podcasting world, whereas a couple of the first stories were more independent style and bringing the podcast experience to the community, doing lives. So you're seeing it both. You're seeing the independents working. You're also seeing the big time major players doing the exact same formula, which if you can't figure out is live events are where it's at. Even if you do one a year, that's still enough that your community is going to rally around. If you make it a big event, you're going to have people show up. People are going to come support you. Believe. You get at least 25 downloads on your podcast and they're listening through the whole episode, because I don't believe downloads are so important as much as consumption rate. But if you get 25 people listening every month to your podcast, that's 25 people that may show up, that will probably show up and support you if you do a live event at Poduty Theater in Tarentum, Pittsburgh.
Pod Anywhere, not just Poduty, but your hometown has places to do this. You be creative. Go to a park. Most parks have those little clamshell stages somewhere in the middle of the park. You could probably rent that for $25, $50. have a live event, record that show. Think about what that does to the value of your podcast or the perception of your podcast. Like, hey, we were on the main stage at Roosevelt Park and we did a show in front of 300 people. That credibility you can't get from just podcasting in your basement.
No, and what's even better, you're doing it live in this theater that's open to the public, right? There's going to be overspill. People are going to come in because they're going to hear, oh, what's going on here? Why is there like 30, 40, 50, 300 people just sitting watching this stage? Come over and see. They hear your podcast. They'll be like, oh, I never knew this podcast. This sounds interesting. And then you got potentially a new fan that's going to be an advocate for you because they organically found you in the wild while you were doing a live event. And they're going to think you're a bigger podcast than you perceive yourself, because they're seeing only the big boys, the big podcasters doing the live events, and they must assume that you doing a live event are just as big. Doesn't matter how big your audience is, the fact that you're doing it and no one else is gives you the credibility as a podcaster.
One of the big boys are in New York City. We got Talking Points Memo marks 25 years with its first live podcast in New York City. For its 25th anniversary, Talking Points Memo is taking the conversation from the newsroom to the stage. Host John Marshall and co-host Kate Riga are bringing the Josh Marshall podcast to a live audience in New York City on November 6th. Fans can expect a candid evening of politics, humor, and insider jokes, followed by Q&A and an open bar happy hour, because as Josh says, I'm more fun when I'm drunk. After successful live recordings in DC and Chicago earlier this year, this marks TPM's first ever live produced podcast in New York City, celebrating 2.5 decades of independent journalism. And, here's the traditional media doing a new media play.
I love it. It's just like the MSNBC story and the Vox Media story. These guys have done already, you mentioned 2 previously, correct, Jeff?
Yeah, Chicago and DC.
Yeah, look, they're already showed that, hey, Chicago wants it, DC wants it. Obviously, New York wants it because they're mad for it, right? If MSNBC is doing it, then Vox did it. New York is there. So if you're in New York, you already know there's already people who would love to come out to your podcast. So start promoting it. Start with your community. If you're in the Bronx or on like a certain block, go there, see what's available. You can even look at getting local sponsors to help offset the cost if there's cost, because they can donate a little bit to promote, and you can, this is a chance for you to work with your community to help help the small businesses around you, which to support you on this journey, working with those people. I am 100%. I want more stories where smaller podcasters, smaller organizations are doing these live events. We know how powerful it is. If live events didn't work, we wouldn't have concerts. Think about it. Musicians do this. They go to bar, to theater to theater. If they are doing it and they're showing it works, why aren't podcasters? Because we're technically using our voice to entertain the masses, just like singers are using their voice to entertain the masses.
Yeah, this model that I'm proponent of, this small podcast theater, is no different than the trajectory that comedy clubs took through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where there weren't comedy clubs prior. People would go to the side of a bowling alley, or at Chinese restaurants always had comedy for some reason. They didn't have places to perform. But as more and more people, like in podcasts, as more and more people are developing podcasts, producing podcasts in their home, they're going to need a space to go to that next level. Just like comedy clubs emerged in the 80s and 90s to support a growing comedy scene, we're going to need a place to support a growing podcast scene, especially on the independent level, the smaller DIYs. Because Phil mentioned there's already actors and comedians filling theaters and arenas with their podcasts. So we know people they're consuming this as a form of entertainment, as a form of live entertainment. So if you're just in your basement, how do you get to Madison Square Garden? We need those stepping stones. And these small theaters are those types of stepping stones. They're not just going to pluck you from your basement and put you on a stage in front of 20,000 people. You're going to have to learn how to perform in front of people so that you can command an audience of 20,000, and you're going to have to work your way up a ladder, just like a band starts in a bar. They go to a venue, they go to a theater, they go to an arena. They have to work their way up.
I'm 100% behind you. I never even considered the correlation between just comedians and comedy clubs springing up earlier, right? Again, you're showing your age. I love you, Jeff.
Around in the 70s doing comedy.
You were? Oh God. You're younger than I thought. No, I'm kidding. This is it. Like small theaters like Poduty or small locations where you can actually go and record podcast studios can eventually bring you to the next level. I'm remembering a podcast that I love quoting. It's the Shits and Gigs podcast about two British lads who came together to create a podcast. They did a world tour. They started in one of their living rooms, and within 5 years they did a world tour. They did the US, they did Australia, they did they sold out the O2 Arena in London. Think about that. These are two British lads who started in their basement, but because they hustled and they knew how to grow their audience, they grew it to a place where they were able to do live events around the world. Yes, they may have not done a live event in a small theater like Poduty, but if you think about it, you can do the same thing. You can start at a small theater, be it your library, be it the local school's gymnasium. Maybe you're able to rent out, but you have this ability, the library, to host live events. Think about what your podcast theme is. If you're a podcast on books, a library would be a great place to do it, or a bookstore. You know how some authors do signings at a bookstore? You can look at talking with your local independent bookstore about doing a live podcast, talking about books, right? That's an opportunity. If you're a beer connoisseur or a whiskey connoisseur, you can go to the bars, you can go to the distilleries if they're local, or the breweries, and see. I've seen and heard stories about podcasters that have done that, and it's been insane. You need to get out of your basement or your studio, if you will, and connect with live people in doing live events. It's if these past 6 stories haven't convinced you that a live event is something you need to do as a podcaster to think about, you're on your own. That's all I have to say about that. I'm throwing my pen down. I'm done.
If these 6 stories plus 24 other episodes of 6 stories, I have 150 stories telling you it's time to go live. It's time for Poduty in the News. We have events coming up. We're going to do some housekeeping to get us out of here tonight. The next Pittsburgh podcast meetup, November 1st, from 6 to 9. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, I feed you. I'm buying sandwiches this time, drinks. We have a great night. About 7 o'clock, we live stream 1 hour of the event for everybody around the world to watch. We do Q&A. We will answer your most pressing podcast questions. We've got Poduty shirts. I got an early bird shirt, $10. If you want to get it in 4 colors, 5 sizes. We have, just like the one I'm wearing in modeling, I'm the only Poduty model on the planet. You get a shirt for $10 when you come into the theater. We have some upcoming shows headed your way. Next Saturday, there's going to be a class reunion for the local high school. These guys do a sports-related podcast in the Pittsburgh area. It's called The Bird Cave. And before the reunion, they're going to do an episode of their podcast with fellow alumni. There's a little bit of pre-gaming, I think, happening where they're going to get ready for the reunion. So the Poduty Podcast Theater is not responsible for the behavior of anybody at the reunion, but the Bird Cave, they're going to have varsity flashbacks with special guests from their graduating year. So what a fun little show to reconnect instead of doing a class reunion. I'm really excited about Tamara. The Nailed It Motherhood podcast, November 8th. I know that she's going to have some other things in the lobby area. I think her mother is selling some books. She's got some items too. It's going to be a live event. It's a wrap up of her season 1 of her podcast. And we're going to kick off season 2. A great live event and a great way to bring your first season fans together in a special, let's meet up at the theater. And something I just put together, I'm going to do a 2-day live stream from the stage only showcasing local Tarentum businesses. So every 10 minutes, I'm going to bring in a new business. Hopefully, it's like Harvest Moon, the Praha, DJ Sky. All these people that are local to the area are going to come in for 10 minutes. We're going to show what they do. We're going to show what they sell. We're going to show pictures of their business, play videos, and we're just going to let you connect with them on a bigger way. We want to help Tarentum have the best year ever. 2025 is going to go out with a bang in Tarentum. 2 days of live stream. If you go to the Poduty.com, you can register. We're looking for business owners, volunteers, and sponsors. Please sign up. Help us pull off one of the craziest events in Tarentum history and bring the city to life in December. We've got coming up in 2026, already booked. You can check it out. Humorous Podcast, where humor meets chaos. They're coming in from Vermont or New Hampshire, and they're coming down, passing through Pittsburgh, and going to do a live show. We still got like 6 months away on that one, but just want to float it out there. And not to be outdone, my co-host today, Phil Better. I'm going to turn the stage over to Phil for the closing remarks and all the plugs he wants to do.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening, if you haven't figured out that you need to do a live event for your podcast, do it. Think about it. All the big brands, there's one podcast that is actually doing it live at a planetarium, and this podcast is on the genomic structure. They're going to the planetarium and talking about how music influences your genes. Now, this is by a brand that is a very, it's a nonprofit that does it, that helps with the genomic system in the country. They're doing a live event. Like, everybody is doing live events. Why haven't you started? Get in contact with Jeff. If you are in the Pittsburgh area, or if you are able to get to the Pittsburgh area and you have a big population of fans there, go there, get involved, or even, start your own Poduty Theater in your local town so that you can start doing this and bringing and supporting the local community and bringing everyone together to grow the podcasting world. I am Phil Better, the Podcast Mogul. You can find me at thepodcastmogul.com and the Podcast Mogul on all platforms. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for having me. You are my ride or die. You are the only podcast theater that I will always go to whenever I'm in Pittsburgh, no matter what.
We're the only podcast theater on Corbett Street in downtown Tarentum. Poduty.com, Poduty.com. If you like this podcast, it's news.poduty.com. You can check it out. We have 25 great episodes. Phil is now being inducted into the Poduty and the Crew Hall of Fame. You'll find his links and bio on the website. Let's go back to that theme song.
The stage is high, the lights are on. From Honolulu nights to St. Paul songs, queer voices rise, TP amidst the town. MSNBC's fans are gathering round.
Fox takes the mic where tech meets start. Jeffrey Billa is here to tear the news apart. Covering meetups, media, that is our goal. We're joined by Phil Better, the podcast mogul. What time is it? What time is it?
What time is it? Oh, it's time for
Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the States.
What time is it?
Poduty and the news.
The one thing I've noticed about these theme songs is you hear, the words prior to the show, but you have no idea what the show is going to be about if you're a listener. But once you hear the lyrics the second time after we covered the story, they mean so much more. Like, I really enjoy that part of the show.
It's awesome. I love it. I got the dance too. Even better.
Poduty and the
And the news.
Oh.
Poduty and the news.